right, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us. Welcome. This is a special event. For those of you who are new to Elders Climate Action, we are grandparents, great uncles, and great aunts, and everyday folks who are determined to do all we can to leave a sustainable planet for future generations and all life. Our programs, communications, actions, and chapters are focused on building the political will needed to solve the climate crisis. ECA is elder-centered and volunteer-driven, seeking to inform, inspire, and engage older generations to take action on the climate crisis at the local, state, and federal levels. We hope you'll consider getting involved with us. Tonight's event and our 10,000 Postcards to Congress project are made possible by a microgrant from our partners at Our Kids Climate. Tonight's event is the training to mobilize you to help us send 10,000 postcards to Congress. Together, we're going to send a clear message that we want a healthy climate with strong climate protections, a clean, renewable energy future, and policies that address the level of the climate crisis we face. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ariana. I am a programs and grants consultant here at ECA. I've been working with the organization for about 4 years now, and I'm always very excited to get to show my face in these events. A lot of the time I do a lot of the background social media and data work, so I'm very excited to be with you all tonight. We're really excited to share that all 10,000 of the postcards that we are planning to send to Congress have been spoken for in the first week of launching our project, which is very exciting. But what this means is we're out of cards, and we're kind of scrambling to expand our project. If you'd like to postcard with us and haven't yet signed up, go ahead and sign up on the waitlist form that I'm going to be dropping in the chat in just a second. This is going to help us assess how many more cards we need. And if you're able to, please donate to help us expand the project. Our waitlist form will be closing tonight, actually, at Eastern time, midnight Eastern time. So we would really like to hear from you before then. If you want cards that way, it'll really help us assess the numbers. I just dropped both of those links in the chat box for you, so please consider joining the waitlist or making a donation. And also, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. Tell us a little bit about who you are and connect with our community. Tonight's event is really exciting. We are doing a shorter call. It's a 30-minute call, and we're going to do a brief presentation where we will be giving you a little bit of a highlight of our goals, how you can get involved with our project, what we're asking of you, and more. And then we've brought some postcarding experts here to tell you all about their experience postcarding. They're our chapter leaders from our Twin Cities chapter, and we're going to be doing a kind of Q&A with them. So please, as you're thinking of questions throughout our presentation, if you have any burning postcard questions, put them in the chat box, and then we'll have our Twin Cities leaders who have done this before share their experience with you. Tonight's PowerPoint and all of the links shared will be sent to you with a recording of this event in a follow-up email after our event. So no worries about, if you can't get a link copied down in time, you will have access to it at some point. Also, my email is plastered everywhere where there's postcards, and I'm happy to put it in the chat box for you. I will in a bit. If you have any questions about the project, if you need any resources or information, please reach out and I will be happy to get you information that you need. So without further ado, let's get into a little bit about our project here. So our goals are pretty straightforward. During the months of November and December, we are inviting ECA members to send postcards to our representatives, telling them that we want climate protections and a clean, renewable energy future. We know that postal mail is a powerful advocacy tool to ensure those in power know we are serious about ending US dependence on fossil fuels and protecting the health of Americans. The postcards we've designed, and you can see a picture of this on our slide here, that's actually the front of our postcard, they include important climate-related data to support our message, and we also provide sample messaging to all of you to customize your messages, so you can write out whatever you would like. However, we have some different ideas if you need some help in guiding what you're going to write. We essentially want you to, build local political will to let our representatives know how important it is to act on climate. We want to remind decision makers as they return to office in January that climate is not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. And we want to protect our children, grandchildren, and generations to come. Okay, how to get involved. So if you've already ordered your cards, we are going to be shipping them out. We actually are already shipping them out. You may have received them already, or you will soon. If you have not ordered cards already, but you really want to get involved and you really want cards, I recommend that you join our waitlist. I have already put the link in the chat box, but I can drop it again for anybody that needs it. That way we can, like I said, know how many more we need to order to make sure that everybody who wants to write to Congress can. Tomorrow and tonight is the last chance to request cards on the wait list. So again, we're closing that at midnight tonight. So this is your last chance. Okay, so how to complete your cards. This part might be a little daunting to folks that have never written to their representative before, but we are trying to make it as easy as possible. So we do have a website where you can go to get to know all of the insides and outs of this project. It's right at the top of the screen here, but like I said, I will be sending out all of these links after the event. It's eldersclimateaction.org/postcards. So if you go to that link, you're going to find sample messaging. So once you've received your postcard, it is really up to you to ensure that they are completed and mailed. On that link that I just referenced, you're going to find sample messaging for ideas, so things you can write on your postcards. And we encourage you to write custom messages. It's really great if your representative hears about the problems that you care about. If you're a constituent, we really recommend you add your zip code to your signature, so that way that your representative knows it's coming from you, someone that has the power to vote for them, or maybe not vote for them. You can find addresses for members of Congress two ways, and I'm going to go over those in a little bit, so you'll know the ins and outs of that. But you want to find your address for your member of Congress, write that on the postcard, so that way it gets to them, and add postage to the postcards. We unfortunately cannot pay for postage, so you are responsible for the postage for the postcards that you order. We will send them to you, but you have to pay for them to be sent to your representative. All right. So, like I said, there are multiple ways that you can find the address of your representatives. So the first way, and I think it's kind of the easiest, is you go to our website, eldersclimateaction.org/electeds. And there, all you have to do is input your street address. So you kind of see this bar up on the top here where the arrow is pointing. You just input your address and your zip code, and it outputs every single one of your representatives and their address. So we did the example of the White House here, and you can see it shows you the federal level, but then also if you scroll down on this webpage, it'll show you at the state level too, all of your representatives. And then you know that that's where you want to send your mail to. However, we have quite a few folks that have ambitiously taken on writing to all 535 members of Congress, and they can't just put their address in here and it wouldn't, output all 535 representatives' addresses. So instead, what they would want to do is go to congress.gov. And then if you look to the right here where this arrow is pointing, you'll see where it says contact your member. And in that, you can either input your address similar to how you would on our website, or right below that, it says contact by email and telephone, and it has representatives hyperlinked and senators hyperlinked. There you could click on either one, and a list will display for whatever, if you search by state, it'll have a link to all of the state representatives or members of Congress in general. Or you can look by your specific address as well. And there you can find all of their websites, which contain all of their addresses. It's a really great tool to find those addresses. All right. We encourage you to have others help you write cards. We think it's so great that this can be a tool to bring together communities, to help you get to know folks in your community. Messages are strongest when delivered by constituents and when personal stories are shared. We recently just heard some intel. We've been working with some students at Cornell who have been working on some research related to legislative outreach. And we've been told by them, and this is very recently that we've been told this, that how it works when mail is sent to congressional leaders is that the mail is scanned and digitized for federal offices. So this means it may be zip code screened to ensure correspondence is from a constituent. And this is especially true in the House. So for example, if I'm writing to my um, all 535 members of Congress. In the House, what might happen is I might reach out to a representative from Ohio, even though I'm not from Ohio, and it will be screened and determined that I am not from Ohio, and it might be sent to my representative here in Pennsylvania instead of that Ohio representative that I wanted to contact about climate change. So essentially, if you're going to write cards to every single member of Congress or ones that might not represent you, we are unsure exactly where those cards are going to end up. And we hope for cards to get in every congressional mailbox. So for this round, we're taking some chances to see what we learn. We want to hear from you as you're completing these cards to know if you're hearing back from your member of Congress, if you're finding it more effective to reach out to state leaders or maybe federal leaders. We had initially intended for these cards to go to federal leaders. However, if we're finding that it's more effective to reach out to state level leaders, we can, it's up to you where your cards get sent. So this is just some kind of intel that we're learning and that we're using to strategize for future postcard projects that we wanted to make sure all of our members and all of you here were aware of in so that you can better inform your how you write your postcards and where you send them. We want you to get others involved if you can. We think it's really great that you can use this to kind of spur action in your own community. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. One of the biggest ways is you can start with your circles. Invite your friends, families, neighbors, and colleagues to postcard with you. Hand them postcards and make sure that they send them. Partner locally. Connect with other climate groups, maybe other, socially minded groups that care about the climate. Maybe it's senior centers. Share with them that you have some postcards that you'd like to work on them with. You could also connect with libraries or community centers, and you can make it fun. And I know our Twin City chapter leaders will have a lot to say about that. You can host postcard parties. That's a mouthful. With snacks or themes, and definitely spread the word. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You can use social media, maybe some newsletters, flyers, community boards, or even just like sending out phone calls and texts to those you love. Lastly, take postcards with you to public events. Maybe you go to the locals farmers market every week. Take some with you. Maybe you'll find someone there who wants to write one. Maybe you go to church every week. Take some postcards with you. And don't be afraid to pass them out. We know that talking about climate is often one of the biggest things that we need to do to get action on climate. So make it a conversation starter. Also, and this is just a little extra plus, if you ordered 4 or more postcard packs, you're going to receive a double-sided poster to use for your events. And we also have a few banners. So if you're planning like a really large in-person gathering or participating in a public event, feel free to reach out to me, and there's my email, and I will again put it in the chat box to see if a banner is available. Next slide. Okay. So if you're deciding to do a larger event and you want to have a party, we have some checklist items for you. First, you want to set a party date and time and make sure you have enough time to receive your postcards. If you set it for tomorrow and you ordered your postcards yesterday, you might not receive your cards in time, and that would be really a huge damper on your party. Also, decide if you're going to provide or ask participants to bring postage. Don't forget that you are responsible for paying your own postage. So if you don't want to pay for everybody else's postage, ask them to bring it themselves. Send invitations out to your friends, family, community members, and make sure you provide all the tools they need to be successful. Pens, a comfy place to write messages, and have sample messaging and addresses available. So you can use those tools that I talked about before to ensure folks know who to write to and have some ideas of what they can write. And then after that, you want to set up a plan to make sure those postcards get mailed. We want to ensure that they're in the mailboxes of our representatives. So either collect the cards and mail them, or ensure participants know where and when to send them. That's the big one. Like I said, be sure to make a plan to ensure postcards get mailed in early January or before then would be ideal. And then we want to hear from you. We are really excited about this project, and we have a report back form that I will drop in the chat box. We want to hear a little bit about how this project went so we can know how to make it better in the future. On top of that, we want to know if you have any great pictures. We'd love to have them to share on social media or to share in general with folks to let them know what a success your postcard party was. And um, you also, like I said before, we really want to hear from you. If you hear responses from your members of Congress, we want to know that they're hearing our message and what they're saying. So I just dropped a link in the chat to our report back form. And then I'm also dropping a link now to our folder where you can add photos. It's a public folder where you can add pictures of you mailing your postcards, or if you have a party, take a picture with everybody. And like I said, we would use those pictures for things like social media, or maybe like I have a few pictures in this presentation that you'll see. Those are from some of our members in the past, our Twin Cities chapter, most notably. So things like that. We will send an email reminder to participants through January to send your cards. So you're going to hear from us, continue to hear from us. Be sure to complete your cards by early January. Mail all cards before January or in January and report back to us. Use those forms that I suggested or I put in the chat box to let us know how it went. So what's next? We want you to try to think about how you might engage your postcard team in another action. We don't want this postcarding to be the end of the momentum. We want to keep this going. We've seen a real uptick in engagement with this project. It's really great to see that in the first week of launching this project, all of our cards have been spoken for. We want to keep that going, and we will be developing another postcard project and plan for action to help you keep your team's momentum going. So if you're getting in touch with people about this postcard project, keep their contact information so that way we can continue to engage with them far past this project. All right, I've done a lot of talking. I would love to hear from our Twin Cities chapter leaders who are experienced postcarders, as you can see by the pictures here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to hear from them. If you haven't already, please feel encouraged to put questions for them in our chat box. Let me look and see. I have a few already that I want to talk about with them and to maybe tee up some other questions. So I'd just like to first introduce Catherine Ringham and Marjorie. They are the Twin City chapter leaders. I don't know if there's anything additional you'd like to share about yourselves and your experience postcarding first. I'll let you have the mic.
Well, thank you, Ariana. Lots of good information there. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity to kind of share our experience and to encourage others to join in postcarding because it's relational and it's fun to do. We all need that. So just to share a little bit about how our origin story is that our local Elders Climate Action chapter began in 2020, so pandemic. And as we organized largely by Zoom, we slowly built a few regular in-person monthly gatherings, including Postcards for the Planet in 2022. We think of our chapter as a home base for individual and collective actions, and we wanted to offer multiple options for people to take action wherever they're at. So we meet for about an hour and a half in one of our members' homes, either around the dining room table or on a front porch if the weather allows. And our first task was to design and order 500 postcards with the ECA logo. And then after inviting our chapter members with an enticing blurb that made it sound easy, effective, and fun, we started meeting monthly and learned as we continued. As Ariana mentioned, one of our first learning curves was how important it was to have scripts prepared and ready and addresses also set out so you could be a lot more efficient and get a lot more out. And in terms of strategies, just to get people there, we included the invitation in our action alerts. We send out reminders and we talk about it in our monthly meetings. We also offer the option of carpooling and certainly encourage people to bring neighbors and friends along and give it a go. For most sessions, we chose timely climate policy issues to advocate or request actions. But we also love to send just a thank you note to businesses and legislators who are doing the right thing, all within 2 to 3 sentences. So short and sweet. In addition, we joined others. I see in the chat there's others who have engaged in the Get Out the Vote campaigns, which have been really important in the last few elections. Like the Environmental Voting Project, recently we sent 400 postcards to Arizona and Virginia. And during our annual in-person meeting, we typically set up a table with a timely topic for postcarding and offer members postcards to take home to have handy as they feel like they need to tell someone a message. And now Margie is going to share some details and some recommendations for how this all works.
And I'm going to keep those comments brief because, Brian, you've covered many of them already. But I do want to add, in thinking of who you're inviting, don't forget kids. We've worked with high school environmental groups, and you can all do scouts. And even because I realize the front of the postcard has the climate information, you could have young children do this. You could have markers that they send. And I mean, not the majority of them, but I would do that too. It's pretty empowering for kids. So I saw that a lot of you in the chat have hosted these. So let me just very briefly, we make it easy, welcoming. We realize not everybody, our group shows up at the same time, doesn't matter. We're happy to see you. The comfortable place for writing, I think, is really important if you're hosting this. So like Catherine said, we're usually dining room table, or if you're hosting a party and there's a card table, it's hard to write on your lap, even with a clipboard. RSVPs are helpful, although we don't make them necessary. And we have found that beverages and treats can be eaten while writing, are always appreciated. And our regular host makes fabulous brownies, and it's become a standard tagline of come write postcards. And by the way, there'll be brownies. We found it really helps to put all of the materials out on the table before people arrive. So you've got your postcards. We have pens often of various colors, so you can be creative if you're tired of writing with your standard blue. And multiple copies of the messages and the scripts, so that when you're writing, it's harder if you have to share them. Not so many addresses. And many of us know the names of our senators and representatives, but sometimes the spelling is tricky. So it's nice to have that put out where everybody can copy it. I also might encourage name tags if everybody doesn't know each other. Even I'll fess up, in our group, someone new will show up to postcarding, and maybe I've seen them on Zoom and maybe I haven't, but I'm not that good with names anymore. It would be helpful. Our agenda is simple, really simple. It's sort of like, thanks for coming. This is going to be fun. Anybody can do this. Glad you're here. Take beverage orders. Would you like something to drink? Here's what's in the brownies or the cookies today, and a quick overview. And then just have the participants introduce introductions. A reminder to write legibly. That the whole idea is we are sending this out. In fact, some of the places where we've done this have actually suggested that we print, which is hard for some of us actually. Let people know where to put, if you're doing them there, where to put the completed ones, collect them. We always do say stamps are 62 cents each. Ask for donations if that's appropriate. And then our host always mails all of the completed postcards. We just put them in this basket or in the middle of the table, and it's done. And it makes it so easy. So that's really the basics. And with a big thank you, and ours usually ends with, and have another brownie. So
That's awesome. And I love the idea of having kids write them. That's genius. And I think we'll be taking notes. Also on the brownies. I would definitely look out for those brownies if y'all were.
Yeah.
For me.
We were surprised that kids some kids had never written a postcard before, so they had to have a little lesson on, where the address goes and all of that. It was interesting. I just wanted to end with, after 3 years of postcarding activity, we really now have some proof that it has an impact by the responses and acknowledgments that received from legislators and businesses. And we share these results and kind of celebrate during our meetings. We know that handwritten mail stands out, as well as the visuals that are on front of the card, and it's quick to read. We also know that it's tracked and counted by topic, that volume counts, and it does influence priorities of people who receive this. And we know now that it's appealing because it's easy, no special skills involved or required. The material, as Margie says, and Ariana, is simple, fast, and fun. Conversations flow as people write, share stories, and encourage one another. You get to know each other, which is a good side effect. Each postcard, we feel, is a small act of hope. Multiplied by many, it becomes a powerful action. So together, we amplify our impact one postcard at a time. And we encourage all of you to get involved with this ECA project as it goes forward, because I know it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I see we have a few more questions. So I know we're getting a little close on time, so I'll try to get through them. But if folks don't mind hanging on for a minute or two, just so we can get to them, I don't know if we could be amenable to that. But Carol, I see you have your hand up. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask? You might be on mute currently. I can ask it on mute real quick.
Okay, had to go through a couple of pop-up menus to unmute. I got in here late because the Zoom link got lost in my email. Took me a while to find it again. I thought I had it marked so I could get to it, but you know how things happen. So I was curious on, I understand the postcard issue, but are these postcards have a pre-printed format on it, and how are we supposed to get these?
Yeah, so you will get a recording of this event as well as our slideshow that we had. So you'll have all of that information handy in a follow-up email that we're going to send. But just for your frame of reference, there is like a printed message on them on the front. It's just statistics about climate change and about voters, how much they care about climate change. And then on the back, there is space for you to write your own personal message. And we have some sample messaging on how you can do that. And then how you get the postcards is we're actually out of postcards. We are working on getting more. We had an online form that you would register and you would select how many packs you wanted. They come in packs of 30 at minimum. And you could, we had people select 4 packs or 1 pack or however many. And then I would mail them out to you. I've been mailing them like crazy this past, week. So some of you might have gotten them. But because we're out of cards, we have a wait list. So if you're interested in getting cards, I'm going to drop the link again in the chat. That's how you would say that you're interested. We're hoping to get more cards, and so that way folks that are on the wait list can get them. And we will reach out to the folks on the wait list to let them know when we have them and when we can expect to mail them. I just put that in the chat box again for you. But like I said, all of the links that I've shared tonight, all of the information that you will need will also be in a follow-up email that you'll be getting. So I hope that answered all of your questions.
I have it in addition to this use of climate change. I'm a geologist and I've been kind of involved with the environmental issues anyway. People have had so much trouble understanding climate change because climate changes anyway, and the issue we came up with that we have to separate the idea. Yes, it's climate change, but it's an additional climate change that isn't natural. So we've been using the word climate crisis because it also has a more powerful impact, and people, wake up to that side.
Yeah, totally.
So that's a thought. Maybe in the future you might start thinking and then explain why it's crisis and not just change.
Totally. We use that language quite a bit as well. So you are not alone there. And also there is the ability to personalize the messages however you want to. So you'll have the ability to, write whatever you want to express in any way on that postcard. So on the front, it's mostly just facts. On the back, there's like a small factoid, and then there's space for you to share whatever you want. I'm gonna move to the next question I'm seeing in the chat, which is, and I think Catherine or Margie, you might have some thoughts here on, do you ask representatives to respond to you via email? Have you done that in the past, and what have you found to be effective?
Have we asked people, the legislators, to respond? No, we have not done that. We've just given them our request. Usually it's an ask. Maybe a policy bill with a number is requested to emphasize or highlight. But no, we haven't. But it's surprising how many do take the time, or their office staff is directed to give. And some of the responses have been by letter. Some of them have been follow-up phone call even, or most likely an email.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. And like I said before, these can be totally personalized. So if you really want to hear back from your representatives, you could also reach out to them after you send the postcard and say, "Hi, did you receive my postcard? Or did you receive the mail? I reached out to you recently. Did you?" And then they'll know you really want to hear back. So there's a variety of ways you can do it. And we would love to hear what folks are finding successful. Like I said, we really want to treat this project as a learning opportunity. So if you reached out after the fact and you got a really great response, we'd love to hear that story. So my email has been in the chat box. I will add it again. Let me put it in right now. So please reach out to me with what you learn. And I also saw someone ask, when do we mail these? Wait until January. We're hoping to have them into representatives by January. That's when they come back for the start of the new year. So we'd like to have them like in their inboxes, so that way when they get back, they see that messaging. So you don't have to wait until January, but we'd hope that you send them by January. That's kind of the goal. So if you get them all done now, and you can get them out, that's a-okay. But if you wait until like February, it's okay, and it's great that we get the messages, but we were hoping to have them hopefully in by January. Let me see if we have any other questions.
I would love to just read Roz's chat. She says, our group, which is called Lunching Liberally in West Virginia, has quite a few older members who prefer to write from home, very popular with those less mobile. So yeah, any way you can enhance people to take them home with addresses and then pick them up or connect. And then she says, we thank the better legislators with a handmade card for being climate responsible, which I think is really fun.
That's really cool to say. And yeah, there, like I said, that messaging is personalized, so you can make it more of a thank you. You could make it more of a, we'd like to see more from you, whatever, fits for your representative or for, what you'd like to see. And then one last question, and I know we're a little bit past time. Are printed address labels for the representatives okay? I don't know if Catherine or Marjorie, if you've had any experience. I would assume it's fine, but I'm curious.
I've seen them on other postcard Zooms and things like that, where they have the printed ones and put it right in the middle of the card, and then kind of draw and write around it. So you can be creative with it. I don't see why not. We always handwrite everything.
Yeah. I'd be interested, like I'd hope that they'd have the same weight and impact. But again, we're kind of learning here. So if you try that out and you're not seeing a lot of responses, let us know. We'd be really interested to know that. I believe that's all the questions I'm seeing. Carol, you have one more? Or you're muted. You're still muted.
Unmute again. Mainly when you send this out, you do try to want to keep contact with your representatives. And the problem you'd have when you call them is sometimes you get an aide. And one of the first things I found out about aides, they are told not to send stuff through. They're supposed to filter them. And so you have to be tenacious, and you tell them that you want to have verification that he got them, and just keep at it, because they actually tire out and do it.
Yeah. And it all depends on the representative too, I will say. I that used to be me, actually. I used to be an aide and one of those people that would respond to letters and postcards, and I worked for a really lovely representative before.
I'm not saying all aides, I'm saying
yeah,
aides.
totally.
It depends upon the representative. They've been told to do
Totally.
this, and that
Um,
makes it really tough on the aides for one.
Totally.
And,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you will likely hear back from your representative if, like, the representative I worked for was so lovely. He wanted every single piece of mail that we got, whether it was from a constituent or not, to have a written response, and he needed to read the entire thing, the response and the mail. It was I would write the responses, but he would read it and then adjust it heavily based off of what he thought, and we would send it off. And it was such a great thing to see. He actually really cared about what he got from people, and it makes me really excited about projects like this one to know that there's representatives out there like that. There might not all be representatives like that, but there are representatives out there like that who really do want to take the time to care about what folks are saying and make sure that they get a proper response, which is really great to see. So, like you said, Carol, it's really important to have that continued relationship. We'll have one. I see Joan's hand up, and this will have to be our last question because we're about out of time. But like I said, my email's in the chat box. So if questions come up after this, please feel free to reach out. It's there for a reason, and you will be getting an email. But Joan, take us away with the last question of the night. Oh,
Joan,
you're
muted.
mute.
My only comment was about handwriting versus printed labels.
Yeah.
I think if these have, the one side is all authentic, handwritten, I think that it might be slightly more powerful than, the more it looks like it was just churned out by like junk mail. I think that could take away from the impact a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just my marketing background, 2 cents worth. So
Totally. And appreciate your thoughts here. And we're eager to see. So whichever way you do it, please let us know how it goes and what you're hearing back. We'd be eager to see what happens with that. Totally understand if you're writing a lot and might not be able to, if you need to print. Seems like I'd be able to get out there just fine, but would love to see the difference in what is the response and whatnot. So like I said, hopefully everything should get the same weight. If your constituent is reaching out to you, you should want to respond just the same no matter what. But it is always interesting to see what would happen. Any last words from Catherine or Marjorie before we are ending it? We have to end it because we're way past time.
I just say have fun.
Yep.
I mean, it's a real community building thing, and
Well, and it's a great opportunity to talk climate. You know,
Yep.
you don't always get that opportunity with your friends and neighbors. So this is by definition a time you can do that.
Yeah.
And share information. So it's fun.
Well, thank you both so much for, and thank you to the Twin Cities chapter in general for everything you've done postcard wise in terms of raising the message. We appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge and postcarding wisdom with us. And thank you all for the overwhelming support of this project. And we are so excited to fill congressional mailboxes in January. And lastly, a huge thank you to Our Kids Climate for the funding to make tonight's event possible and our postcard project as a whole possible. If you haven't already ordered postcards, like I said, I'm going to be dropping one last time the link for the waitlist in the chat box, as well as our donation link. This is what we're hopefully using to order more postcards. So if you're able to donate, help cover the postage of us sending it out to folks, that would be really helpful. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your night. Bye, folks.
thank you.
thank you.